Hello, we are back on Coaching Couch, and today we have a guest, Leila. She's coming back to talk to us about conscious communication. Good evening, Leila.
Good evening, Daria. Good evening,
How are you?
dear audience. Thank you for
How?
having me again.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you. You know, we
Thank
have
you.
so much fun when you come and talk about
Yes,
such
yes.
a deep topics. So, Leila, when you told me about conscious communication, of course, I went and started Googling
Mm-hmm.
and I found it very interesting. I would never think that there is like a part of science of that because I would think that it's kind of common sense when we communicate. We need to think about how we say things, about feeling a bit empathy to the other person. So those are just small bits that I was reading about. But please do tell me
Yeah.
everything that you know.
Yeah, you would be surprised, Daria, the amount of time we speak, but we do it unconsciously. And that's the reason why conscious communication is because in fact very rarely we speak consciously. We most of the time we have ready-made answers, um, and even more than that, sometimes when someone is we are having conversation with a person, we tend to not really listen, to be really present and listen. We jump in the conversation, we want to give our advice or example. Oh yeah, that happened to me. And in fact we are not really present, we are just on reactive mode, and really we're most of the time we are just reply we are having an unconscious conversation.
Mm,
And unconscious why is because everything we have learned comes from our past experiences, as we shared it so many times before. um, so when we speak, or we want to share or like we have a reply to maybe a question or maybe a situation, it comes naturally, it comes like second nature, it just blur and blah. and we and we have the answer. Just notice in the morning, for example, you meet someone, you say hi, how are you, and then say, oh, very good, thank you. Do they really mean it?
mhm,
Are they really doing well that much? Most of the time they
mhm,
don't. So it's true that we don't always have time to have those, stop and have those very long and conversation where we're really present. But we could. I mean, but so many times you don't even think twice about it. It just comes like a pre-recorded kind of answer. Um, and this is where we it's a choice at the end to choose. Do I just go by and like a recorded tape, and whatever we tell me I will just reply as I did so many times before, or I'm going to just pause and really listen to the person and really um, ask them how they are and try to understand more and be really present. And sometimes, we feel like in a conversation we need to um, jump in and give advice or fix, or while we don't really need that most of the time. Like the person we are talking with is mostly in need to be heard, which is one of the essential human needs, to be heard. But do we really listen most of the time? I
mhm.
don't think
No,
so.
we usually listen to reply, but not listen to
Exactly.
understand or hear. Yeah,
Absolutely. And
absolutely.
that's exactly the difference between unconscious conversation. We listen, we are not even listening, we are just ready to reply.
Mm,
While as you said, uh, l- re- listening to understand, that's the conscious communication.
mhm.
Yeah.
So, it's part of a emotional intelligence as well.
Hmm.
So when people are more aware of their uh, emotions, they're aware of the action as well, and they're aware of how they treat others. So that in these situations, probably they will have more meaningful conversations. But then
Absolutely, yeah.
again, we do have like we do have friends, we do have family, we do have colleagues. So the difference in communication is always there, right?
Hmm.
You will not talk to your neighbors about your deepest problems, right? As you say it, like we'll say, "Hi, how are you?" And yeah, I'm good, and hope you're
Yes.
well, and we'll go other ways. But what would you suggest to people, even in a conversation with neighbors? Sometimes I'm sure you can read in a way if they need to talk, if they need to stop and talk to you.
No, absolutely, absolutely, because this is part, in fact, of the unconscious communication as well. Because it's not only it's not only with our words, it's not only verbal. We communicate in so many different ways, um, body language, facial expressions, our tone. All this is part of the conversation or the communication, but that's also unconscious. We sometimes we let think we react in ways which we don't want to. Afterwards we regret, for example, we snap back, or we get triggered, or we don't even let the person finish their whatever they have to say, and we are already replying. um, I have it so many times here, even with my kids, family. Like you say the first word, and they already imagine what you wanted to say, because we've spent so much time together. So if I say, "Did you say, do you want to use the bathroom?" And then they go, "No, why? What are you saying?" No, no, wait, because I was going to tell you that there is a leak from the ceiling, and then they just imagine the whole scenario that I was going to ask something else.
Hmm.
They don't let you even finish the what you wanted to say. um, and for sure, yes, we speak differently to different people, but still it's because it has been done so many times. We have like pre-recorded expressions, like if they say A, I will say B, and we don't even think about it. I mean, you have those ready answers. And we are not really present. Maybe the person needs something else, as you said. Maybe the neighbor really needed at that time to have someone to talk to, and we didn't even pay attention to that. And
Hmm.
we wrap up rapidly and then we leave, which is not exactly the best thing to do. And you used the word earlier about meaningful conversations,
Hmm.
like where we really say something, where really we express how we feel or what's happening, or if we need some just to vent out, or and this it's really different when we do it while we are present than when we just keep repeating the same scenarios from before. So this is about the why conscious conversation. It's because there is an unconscious conversation. So we need to be careful about it. So what is conscious conversation? And before explaining that, because I will share afterwards how to have
Hmm.
a conscious conversation. Yeah. Now, what is the benefit of a conscious conversation? One of them, believe it or not, is it's for our own well-being. We feel better, we feel much better physically, emotionally, and mentally when we have a conscious conversation. And I'll explain that in a while. And then it avoids conflicts, because it avoids so many misunderstandings. When we
Hmm.
are present, when we listen, when we are here to either just listen, not we don't have to answer anything, or really listen deeply to the person to be able to understand them. And why do we do that? Why do we need so much to communicate in the first place? I've never seen two other species wanting to understand so deeply, like two lions or two
Hmm.
elephants. They don't do that. But us human beings, we always want to explain and communicate, really explain our word. Because in fact, this is exactly that. We live in different worlds. Each one of us lives in his own universe. We understand things our own way. We have been through we have different kind of background, different history, different um, we've been through different life experiences, so we experienced life differently. And whatever we piled up in terms of um, you know knowledge or intelligence about life, how to deal with life, how we have come through all these years, and we grew, we have a very different view of the world than another person. We
Mhm.
might even we see things differently, and we understand things differently. So one word might mean something to you, Daria, but for me, I understood it based on my past experiences and then different lens.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can say, I don't know, let's say describing the environment. Someone who is born in Northern Europe, for example, winter means something for them. But
Yeah.
someone whose winter is in the tropics is completely different. So they are not going to describe winter, which is the same word, but it has completely different meaning for each one of the two parties.
Mhm.
So just being aware of that, that we don't have the same word, really. Each one of us sees what's happening with their own lenses. That's why we always are eager to explain. This is what I mean. This is what I want to say. This is and even by doing our best to explain, it's we really the most of it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen that even if we are the clearest possible, still there might be misunderstandings from the other
Mhm.
person. Because whatever I say, you receive it through your own lenses. So are you really understanding it the way I have conveyed the message? It reaches you through your lenses of how you make sense of the word I'm using or the words I'm using, and you will interpret it completely differently than what I meant. And in through your reaction, I can tell if you understood me or not. No, 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 I didn't mean that. Wait, wait, wait. And then we give examples, and this is why we really need to communicate all the time. And it becomes so much easier when we really listen to understand. Like, tell me how you are seeing your world. Tell me how you felt, or what kind of meaning it had for you, and I'll do my best to understand you. And imagine if all people do that, there will be. I mean, life will be so much more easier, right?
So much easier.
Yeah.
Yes. And especially when people don't know each other and they start
Mm,
communicating anywhere. It can be at the job or someone they met somewhere in petrol station, and the argument arose for nothing. It could be just it's simple misunderstanding,
mm,
and instead of just arguing, I think the best option, like, okay, I don't know what this person going through at the moment. I don't know their life experience. Maybe something I did or something I said did not go well with them. Uh,
mm,
it's nothing personal. It's not like, or you are insulting me or something. It's nothing personal. I just, this person doesn't know you, you doesn't know them. So just either ask them if they're okay in a non-judgmental, not threatening way, or just let it go. Because yeah,
mm.
there is, as you're saying, Leila, in the beginning, that so much misunderstanding we have from our communication, and we may speak the same language, but we will not understand each other.
Absolutely, yeah. Mm.
Um,
You will be surprised how people don't are not even aware that
mhm,
another person can think differently.
mhm. Yes,
Really,
yes, I know,
they will think like you think exactly like them. And
totally
then they will
agree.
say, how come you are not understanding? But I'm not you.
Mhm,
I wasn't born. I'm not in your shoes. I don't know what kind of day you had. I don't know what kind of family dynamic you have. I don't know your job. I don't know how you see life through your own eyes. I
mhm,
don't know.
mhm,
But they are not even aware of that. And there is a reason for that, by the way. Um, our mind knows only us, which means your mind, Daria, knows only you and cannot imagine anything apart from you,
Mhm.
really. So when something happens outside of you, like some another person or a situation happens, your mind really takes it personally, thinks really that's you. So your mind cannot even comprehend that there is Leila and there is Ahmed and there is Daria. Your mind knows only you. So that's
Mhm.
why if we really let our mind lead our life, we will really feel like, how come you don't understand me? How come you don't think like me? How come you don't even guess what I want? And it happens, by the way, with couples and friends. No, normally he knows me. He can guess what I need and what I want and what makes me happy. It's exactly that, because we think that I'm readable, like
Mhm.
everything shows. It's not true. Uh, we are we are the same. We look like two human beings of 10 or whatever, but each one of us is a complete different universe.
Definitely.
And that's amazing because it gives you want to find out who are they, how do they perceive life, how do they make sense of what's happening to them. There is always that kind of curiosity.
Mhm.
Instead of taking for no, like that person doesn't even exist, maybe sometimes. That's why you
Mhm.
see people, for example, honking on the road. They feel that the road is theirs. Like everybody else is just like those background kind of
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
characters in a film. Like they are not.
So,
No,
yeah,
no, they shouldn't be there.
the center of the earth. Yes, I'm
Exactly. They
I'm
feel
the
that
one. I'm the
everything is about
important. Mhm.
everything is about them, and this is what the mind and the ego does to a person. Like they feel like they're the most important. It's only about them. Everything is important about them, and the other person need to understand them and just go away when they need to go away. Yeah, but I think we are branching out to another to another to another topic here. But it's
Ver-
it's it's really about a feeling if the other person is really there and can has a say, is is a different person, and I need to understand them instead of just assuming that
Mhm.
I know everything about them, or I assuming that I understood fully what they have said. And
Mhm.
this word is very powerful, by the way. Assuming, we assume that
Mhm.
we know and we understand, while this is exactly what the unconscious communication is about. It's like, no, jumping to conclusions, imagining that we understood while we didn't understand anything.
And not
Um,
only understanding, we know for sure this
we
is
know,
like this is
yeah,
the person. I know him. I know her. I'm. It's like, yeah,
exactly, yeah.
totally
Yeah,
different.
how many people have enough empathy to just not assume, but say maybe this person is not feeling good today, or
Mhm.
maybe uh, I would like to understand what happened to them for them to react like that, or to. It's rare.
Aga- Again,
Yeah.
going back to emotional intelligence and awareness
Mm,
about yourself. Because what I also understood, the conscious communication is not only communicating with others. This is how you communicate with yourself as well.
absolutely, yeah. True. It's absolutely how do we talk to ourselves? Do we talk in in a kind way? Do we try
Mm.
to understand or make an effort to understand ourselves, and why at any given moment we feel the way we feel? What's the reason? And being compassionate and understanding with our own selves, or do we have those old, that inner talk which is based on limitations from past experiences, and we keep uh, saying mean things to ourselves? Like what kind of conversations or inner conversation do we have with our own selves? Is it conscious, where I really understand myself and I'm compassionate, or I just judge myself based on past experiences?
Mhm.
Mm.
How would one person who would like to understand deeper about communication and conscious communication, what would you suggest? Where would they start?
A good place to start is first to be as present as possible when we communicate with the person. It's easily said than done. It's really something that we need to cultivate. It's not always doesn't happen because we have practiced the opposite for so long. Then saying, "Let me listen to this person as if I don't know them. I'm just meeting them for the first time, and understand them deeply." And when it doesn't have to be deeply either, but because we don't have time to do that with everyone, but at least with people who are significant in our lives,
Mhm.
our partner, spouse, our children, our colleagues who are with whom we work every day, our parents, our who any person who is significant in our life. Take the time to really listen to understand, as you mentioned earlier. Like, tell
Mhm.
me more. What do you mean by that? Can you give me an example of that, or help me understand what you want to say? I really want to understand you, instead of assuming or jumping to conclusions or not letting them even finish what they have to say. That's very, very powerful, because when we cultivate this kind of communication, it will first, we will feel so much relief, because instead of assuming and creating drama where there is no drama at all, we will really understand and be helpful to the other person. It will erase conflicts for sure, and enhance relationships. I mean, the work environment will be so much more
Mhm.
enjoyable. The family environment will be so much enjoyable. So there are so many benefits to it. But there is one which really is unexpected, but I'm going to explain it now, that it really brings so much positivity and well-being to us and to the other people around us. And this comes to how can we communicate consciously using what the mind is not good at doing.
Mhm.
Because the mind does amazing things, but the mind doesn't differentiate imaginary from real, which means, in fact, this is the body mind. Our body will react based on the images or the statements that we have understood. We can either there is really something joyous happening outside of us and we feel joy, or we can imagine a picture of what joy means, and that can be evoked by positive words. Now, what does it mean, positive words? If we think in terms of energy, like everything around us is energy, we are made of energy. If we go to the building block of matter, it's atoms, neutron, proton, electrons, and it's, if we go deeper, it's quarks, and if we go deeper, then we know it's pure energy. So matter is energy. Emotions are molecules in our that go everywhere in our body. They are energy as well. Words have energy because they are vibrations. When we say a word, or we think a thought, it has a specific vibration. And they have been measured in terms of, is it a high vibrational frequency or is it a low vibrational frequency? Low vibrational frequency lowers the energy of the body. Like if I say a word which has a low vibrational frequency, that will be a word like tired, sick,
Mhm.
bad,
Mhm.
late, low. All these words, the, you thinking them and saying them, you automatically feel that your energy gets lower.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, using the fact that the mind, because when I say a word of this vibration, which is a low word, like what we call like it's quite a heavy word, like tired, sick. When I say it, I already feel tired.
And it's negative,
And
negative,
it's
yes.
negative, and it evokes a picture of
Mhm.
tiredness. You create it in your mind, because your mind doesn't differentiate imaginary from real, so the picture you depict
Mhm.
lowers your energy. Think about someone complaining to you. They are telling you a story where the scenario is quite negative. And you imagine, like, I went to the hospital and then I saw this and I did this. And on the road, there was a traffic jam and I waited for 2 hours. You are completely drained after 2 minutes. You have
Just for
imagined the
listening.
whole
Yes.
film, and
Mm-hmm.
your mind reacts based on what you have imagined. What does hospital means to me? It doesn't mean the same thing to you.
Mm-hmm.
But because I base it, for me, it's related to what kind of experiences I had in
Yeah.
hospitals before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to lower my energy. I have a choice here. I can use the other things that the mind doesn't do, which is my mind doesn't process negatives.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? If I ask you, Daria, now, or our audience, don't think about a pink elephant. What are you thinking about?
About pink elephant.
Don't think don't think about number 56. What are you thinking about?
Mhm. 56, 57, very close to 56, yes.
Yes, because the mind cannot not do until it does.
Mhm.
So the mind cannot not imagine what you are saying. You say a number, your mind shows it to you in your mind. I
Mhm.
say pink elephant, and the picture is already clear in your mind. You saw it. Even if the command was don't think about, but our mind our mind functions or uses keywords, and the
Mhm.
keywords are transformed into a picture, and then your body acts or reacts based on the picture that has been shown in your mind's eye. Yeah. So these two things are very powerful. The first one does we don't differentiate imaginary from real. That explains why stories are so powerful.
Mhm.
We love stories. So instead of saying a story which is not the best, why not choose a story which is the best? I mean, even when you describe, for example, when you give examples, it's more vivid. You can really understand better when you use pictures. And then, even if you want to complain, or even if you want to tell a part of the story has didn't really go the best way possible, because this is life. There will be things which are going well and other which are not going to go well. By the way, I'm using the what I'm preaching here. um, which is used in negative form, but in a
Mhm.
better way. So, if, for
Mhm.
example, I haven't had a good day yesterday because, as I was sharing with you earlier before our call, um, like I have the choice either to tell you, I was feeling tired and I had to rest, and my day was really bad. Your energy is
Yeah,
already.
I would think, should I speak to Leila? Maybe she's not feeling well, and I would
Yeah,
imagine that, and then how would I
exactly.
feel? Mhm, mhm,
So instead of saying that, I will be compassionate with you and with myself, and I will use the negative form, but I will shift the words.
mhm,
So
mhm,
instead of saying I'm feeling bad or I'm feeling tired, I will say I'm not feeling my best today.
mhm,
I still conveyed the same idea,
mhm,
but I took care of you and I took care of myself.
mhm,
When I say I wasn't feeling well, I'm already feeling better. But if I use the opposite word, which has a low vibrational frequency, I'm not doing myself any favor, and you too. Yeah.
making
So this is
sense a
something.
lot.
Yeah. So
Mhm,
this is what really something that how to speak consciously. Being present is amazing. That's really the thing to do. But also choosing our words carefully, choosing how we describe things, because whatever we describe evokes pictures, and if it's a beautiful, joyful, positive picture, I will have a good energy. Either
mhm,
listening to it or saying it, because before we say something, where was it? It was a thought in my mind, right? That
mhm,
vibration affected my energy already before even I say it. That's why, by the way, gossiping doesn't do us any good. Because when we gossip, guess who we are really not doing any favor to? Us. Because before
Yes.
I gossip, I have already formed the thought in my mind. They are not the best, and their energy has already affected my general energy and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
gossiping is not a good idea at all. Just gossip
Yeah.
in a
Just
positive way if you want.
no gossips. Yes.
Or no gossiping.
Or about,
Complaining,
yeah,
complaining, same thing.
complaining.
Like
Mm-hmm.
if I want to complain, let me do it in intelligent manner. I will
Mm-hmm.
use negative form, but with positive words. I will
Mm-hmm.
say, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm late, sorry." Why say sorry? Say thank you for waiting for me, or thank you for your patience. Instead of being sorry, sorry is a very low vibrational word. Stop saying sorry. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just about saying thank you for waiting for me, thank you for being patient. Or instead of saying I'm late, saying, "Oh, I'm not on time."
Mm-hmm.
I'm still
Mm-hmm.
saying the same thing, but you
In
being
a
very careful.
positive. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Being very
In a
conscious about what kind of words am I using.
mm-hmm. There is a story you reminded
Mhm.
me about gossiping,
Mhm.
like a wisdom sharing story. And
Okay.
one person came to another and said, "I've heard something about your friend. Would you like to hear it? I'll let me tell you."
Mm.
And another person stops him and says, "Is it positive? No. Is it giving any information to me? Something
Mm.
that can be useful? No. Is it helping anyone, to me, to you, or the third party? No. Then I don't want to hear it."
Yes, exactly.
So the gossip, like the gossip part is, I understand a lot of cultures. We're not talking about even nationalities. A lot of cultures have that as a normal news translation between each other. By the news, we know what we mean. It's not real news,
Yeah.
because it's a news with adding personal negativity and just to relate to another person and so on. So yeah, gossiping is never good for anyone, either the person they're gossiping about or the two people receiving and giving the gossip. As
Mm.
you're saying correctly, the whole energy just goes bust.
Yeah.
It might be entertaining sometimes, but I don't think it giving anyone any, not only positive feeling,
Mm.
but real information and useful information. So it's
No.
I agree.
Uh, it's not energetically. It's not the best thing we can do. Yeah.
No,
Mm.
there are much more interesting things to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah. I just thought about something else that when it comes to when it comes to the benefits of not benefits, but the what kind of outcome we can get from conscious communication.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. It's really about making sure that whatever we're discussing, it's really like a win-win situation for both. Like when we communicate, it's really for the both of us to benefit from the conversation. If it's not the case, then maybe it's not really recommended to have this kind of conversation. What is the outcome? Is it to make the other person feel good or not? Is it about
Hmm.
benefiting the other person and myself or not? And really being very careful about communication. We tend to sometimes feel like we just fill up like a void with words and just talk without any reason to do so or without any aim for the conversation. But why are we talking? Why are we speaking? And you know what the thing is, whatever we say, that's a vibration.
Hmm.
That's an energy that goes in the environment. It goes very far in our environment. So it affects everything around us. It's not only us and the other person we are having conversation with. It affects even our pets around us. It affects the plants. It affects our planet. So we need to be very careful about what are we entertaining as a conversation, either inner conversation in terms of thoughts, or even when we talk with other people.
Mm-hmm.
All those the news we listen we that are
Oh.
on TV. Uh, all these are vibrations that go in the environment. So we really need to cultivate conscious communication. Words are not for free.
Mm-hmm.
We really need to weigh them like gold. We need to really be careful about what we are saying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I
I mean,
remember.
I
Mm-hmm.
cannot emphasize that as much as I want to, but I hope people will become aware that uh, just weigh your words carefully, either with yourself or with others, or yeah.
Um, when you were talking earlier about also the power of words, I remembered, and now that you mentioned about pets and plants, I remember there was a study on water. I'm sure you know
Mm.
about it.
Dr. Masaru Emoto. Mm.
Yes, and
With the
when
water crystals, yeah.
water crystals in two vessels, and
Hmm.
one he would say compliments and nice words, and another said bad words.
Yes.
So and then under microscope they would look at the crystals, and the crystals where the water was complemented, it was beautiful shaped, like snowflakes or whatever it was, the
Yeah,
molecules, whatever. And another one was just disformed without even any images or something. So
true.
I read that it was kind of the bank or something, but even if it's not real for me, the just understanding that your word is so powerful,
Mm.
and as you say, the vibration and energy, it's really you really need to think what comes out of you on
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
daily basis.
Yeah. It's like, this part emits a vibration. It's a sound,
Mhm. It
you
is
know?
vibration, yes,
Yeah. It's a
and voice
sound, and
cord,
sound
and
has a
yes.
vibration, and the vibration has a frequency. Is it a low frequency, or is it a high frequency? So even
Mm-hmm.
when if we decide to say something, we need to say something kind, or just be quiet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Either you say something which is useful, necessary, that will contribute to the well-being of the person in front of you, or yourself, or just avoid it.
The old saying, if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say anything at all.
Don't say anything. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being careful and considerate of the other person. What are they going through? What are they feeling? What is my word? How is my word going to affect them? Is it going to be positive or negative?
Mm-hmm.
Especially kids, kids around us, they don't, whatever we tell them, because we are the adults, they look so much up to us,
Mm-hmm.
that we need to be very careful about what are we saying when kids are there. How are we addressing kids? Because it just goes into their mind and stays there, and it might shape their future in a way that we wouldn't want for them. It
Mm-hmm.
affects maybe their confidence, or the self-confidence, the self-esteem. It might limit them. So
Yeah.
just when we always have a choice, I can say something positive, and I can say something negative. Which one is going to have the best consequence? Just being, thinking before speaking. Really, it reminds me, my grandma, when I was young, she would say, before you say something, turn it in your mouth 7 times. And then if you still want to say it. But 7 times gives you the time to think.
I was about to ask you what are the tricks, especially when you're angry or when you don't have enough patience. What are the tricks you would suggest? Your grandma is on
Yeah.
a spot.
For me, it will be now what I do, because I do sometimes, really rarely, thank
Hmm.
God. But it does happen to me, and I just
Hmm.
remove myself from the situation. I never stay
Hmm.
there. I just leave. And then even
Hmm.
if someone wants to continue the conversation, not now.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I might say something I would regret.
Yes.
Just leave me alone. Let me calm down, and we can have a conversation afterwards.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Same happens in comments and the internet. You
Mm,
know, there are many times like I know that I'm much better now with my emotions, especially again realizing that not everyone is the same background, the same knowledge of the things, and some people just like to talk. So lately, if I want to express my opinion on anything, basically, I type it, then I delete it because there is absolutely nothing my comment will do. If there is someone arguing about something significant or something insignificant, my comment will not change the world. So just to put their negative energy, I'll better go and do something useful. Read a nice story or something.
mm,
Classics. Read books, classics. It's really good.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, those conversations on social media, they are so sterile. I mean, they don't lead anywhere, and you know that a message conveys maybe 8% of what you want to say.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
people will there will always be misunderstanding based on a text, just a text by itself. The best way to fight with the person is to send them a text. To
Yes, they will
really,
not
because
understand.
yeah, they will not understand, and they will really understand it based on how they feel at that moment. If
Mhm.
you send it
Mhm.
lovingly, happily, and the other person is upset, they will read it in a complete different way than the way you meant it to be understood. Because you don't have a tone, you don't have facial expression, you don't have the
Mhm.
body language. So it's so much is missing from the message itself. So I had clients sometimes that they say, "Oh, I've sent him this message and he replied and he was upset." I said, "Please stop it. Please don't communicate like that. You cannot communicate with WhatsApp or text message.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
not doing yourself any good, any favor. Just go meet the person, have a coffee, and have a proper human conversation, and hopefully you
Yeah.
will get to come to an agreement or
And
to."
most probably that person didn't even mean what you read, the
Mm,
way you read it. I
exactly.
know
Yeah.
there was a funny sketch. I don't remember on which social media, but it was from a TV exactly about this. I wish I could use it, without YouTube striking me for the rights. But yeah, there was two friends communicating. One is very angry at the moment, and another one just replying. And the more he was replying, like the one person said, "Okay, let's meet up," or something like that, and another one, "Yeah, sure." And that first person read it as a very negative. "Yeah, sure," and he became more angry, and he started messaging. And another person just relaxing on the sofa without even thinking about being angry. But the way that person was reading is just, it was escalating for him. Every message, whatever, without any emotion, for him, it was that's it, end of friendship.
They would break up.
Mm,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
that's.
because yeah, he interpreted based on how he was feeling
Hmm.
at that time.
Yeah,
Mm,
it was fun. But again, this is how they say at work as well. Don't just send emails when it's something important or when you have any issues with someone. Pick up a phone or go face to face, because this
absolutely. Yeah.
may just become unresolved issue just out of nothing.
Mm. No, absolutely. Yeah, and that goes also. What we've been sharing earlier, in the workplace. When in
Hmm.
a among a team or maybe a leader with his team, just to see them as human beings who come with their own universe. They have feelings, they have families, they have maybe good days and days which are not the best, and be there to understand them, and really ask about how they are doing, what do they mean by that, be really very clear
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
communication, and being there to listen as well. I mean, the difference will be amazing.
Hmm.
Mm.
Well, another question I want to ask you: how does conscious communication and our well-being connected? I know you replied a little bit about that, about
Mhm.
the energy, about vibration, but in a more emotional and physical way as well. I'm sure there is implication.
Um, One of them, as we mentioned, is about using the words which have a higher vibration. So it's good for us.
Mhm,
Why?
mhm,
Because our immune system functions optimally when we have a good where we have a high energy, when our physical energies or bioenergy is really high. When it's the opposite, when our energy is low, the immune system doesn't function, so we are not protected, you know. That's why people, for example, when a person complains a lot, or you know, this when we you know there are those people which you say, oh, they are negative, they always
mhm,
complain, the cup is always half empty, they don't see what's beautiful around them. These people tend to 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 have like to not always be in a good health.
mhm,
Yeah, their immune system is not functioning.
mhm,
So this is one part of the well-being, of protecting our well-being. The other, and it goes the same as well with the inner talk. How do we talk to ourselves? Is it nicely, kindly, or it's the opposite that affects our energy as well, and consequently our immune system, and how we are, if we are protected or not. The second thing is when we are compassionate, when we are present, we create better relationships,
mhm.
more meaningful relationships. And you know, there is a study done, I think it was done in Oxford or Cambridge over I don't know how many decades. And the study was about, I think they took a group of young people, maybe 80 years ago or 70 years ago, and they used to meet them regularly, I think every
Oh, yes.
year or every few
Mhm,
years, to see how they would grow and what kind of adults they would become, how their life is
mhm,
going to turn out. And they realized that those who first lived longer in a healthier way, or the healthiest, were those who had meaningful relationships in their life.
mhm, mhm.
So what's better than that? I mean,
And it goes for your significant others, for your
mm,
friends, for the families. Yes, yes, I've heard about this study. Yes, just
mm.
recently.
So
Hmm.
just the way we communicate can really save relationships, save marriages, save relationships with our kids,
Hmm.
and also keep our friendships, create new relationships with other people, you know. And this is all we need, you know. It's a meaningful connections and being connected to others in a very healthy way. And how do we connect? By communicating. So how are we communicating? Are we enjoy a good, are we good company, or we are not good company? It's
Hmm.
a choice. And even if I want to complain, there is a way I can practice, as I shared earlier. If I want to complain, okay, I will complain, but I will be careful about the kind of words I use.
Yeah, make it a
I will,
funny story.
yeah, make it a funny story, or use the negative form with positive words. Say
Hmm.
I'm not well instead of the
Hmm.
opposite. Say
Hmm.
I'm not on time. Say, for example, um, I had better days, instead of the, oh, these days, and I
Hmm.
start saying negative words. No, when I say negative
Hmm.
words, I mean low vibrational frequency,
Yeah, yeah.
low energy. I mean,
And
it's a smarter way to be careful for, like, for our own well-being, and also for the person who is receiving this kind of message and vibration and energy.
hmm, so we established it's not only good to be empathetic and don't say things that are not really helpful, but also um, the way we look after our own health and after the health of who we're communicating with. So, and all these things we can apply at work, at home, with our loved ones.
Absolutely, yeah. Imagine someone, for example, who would work the whole day, goes back home, and dumps all his problems on his spouse.
Hmm.
how is it going to be received? I mean, how is
Well,
the wife or the husband going to feel? What kind of energy are they taking home?
there is a
Uh,
way to share what happened at work. Uh, there is a way to just tell it as a story
mhm,
and ask, what would you think? What would you do? And there is another way where you just go in and without saying anything, you just dumping negative energy and picking on the small things and creating fights and so on. That's absolutely not acceptable.
mhm,
And people really should be aware how they communicate. It's not your spouse, you know, fault that your day was not so good. But
absolutely, yeah.
if you want to share what happened at work, there are ways. Just say like, this happened, but I'm thinking this can be done, this can be done. So something that not just bringing your issues from work to home and saying, so this is how it is. I don't know what to do. And then you go to sleep and your spouse awake all night thinking about
Continue,
it.
continues thinking about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's um I want to talk more about it. And I would like to ask more about, because I know when we start talking about, lots of memories came back. Like the same, we used to have a saying that the word is like a bird. Once
Mm,
it's out, you cannot catch it.
yes.
How, including your grandma's advice about 7 times in your mouth, what
Mm.
are the other practical things that we can do? Like stop, think, breathe for 5 minutes in and out. What other things just for people to start practicing it right now, and being aware what they're about to do.
So, if I understand well, your question is about what else, how else can we do it?
Hmm.
Like speaking consciously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just a small step every day. Like it's really
Hmm.
be aware of it first. This is what we are sharing here, is awareness. Yeah. When we are when we know, it's difficult to not know. When we know, it's you know it now, you have the information, so it's there with you. The choice is now, do I continue being myself and not making an effort, or making use of what I've become aware of, or do I start practicing it? Is it going to be easy?
Hmm.
Probably not,
Hmm.
but it's a muscle we need to strengthen with time. Like even if I say something comes blah, like it's not really the best kind of expression. I'll correct myself. I will say, let's say, my boss has was completely stupid today. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not going to say that. I said, oh no, no, sorry,
Hmm.
he wasn't really smart today. Really, he came up with ideas which were not the best, and the day went completely to the not the direction we wanted to, and we ended up with so many things to fix, and instead of saying problems, and it sounds already much better, and
Hmm.
it's really something we practice. It took me quite some time to every time pick myself up and say, no, 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 let me say it again in a different way. And definitely pausing before speaking is very important. Pausing is, for me, it's magical. Like, I'm not going to answer now. Just listen and then say, okay, what's the best kind of answer I can say?
Hmm.
Pausing it works really well. Thinking, and then something which is even more powerful is, if I was in that person's shoes, how would I feel?
Hmm. Empathy. Hmm.
Empathy. If I imagine myself in the other person's shoes,
Hmm.
how would I feel? This is very very powerful as well, because then
Hmm.
I will understand why they are acting like this, and why they are saying what they are saying, or reacting the way they are reacting. I don't know if I
Mhm.
answered your question, Daria, or not.
Yeah, yes, of course, of course. And it's like a small, simple things. I would say that probably people with big egos will find it difficult to stop and think and stop and imagine themselves in someone else's shoes. But there is hope for those. You can, as Leila said, you have already information. There is a lot of more information available, and not only on the internet, but you have also professionals. I believe it's also part of the NLP, right? Neuroprogramming, linguistic
It
something
is, yeah.
something. Yes. Okay.
Neuro-linguistic programming, yes.
Yes, programming.
Mm.
So that's you can always address those professionals and speak to them, and they will help you how to reprogram your way of thinking, how to learn to speak
Yeah.
to yourself and others in a better way.
No,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Daria, now that you mentioned it, when the past is not creating those reactive modes for us, I mean, when we really look into our conditioning and we change what is not serving us, this is what NLP is amazing at doing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it really enables you to, or it enables, like it did for me, where you pausing is not a is not is so easy to do after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't react, you are really in the moment, and you think, what is this situation asking of me? It's really so powerful. I've never,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before I did the NLP, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you always snapping back, always answering triggered, um, answering without thinking most of the time. But then when you get those, the past completely cleared, whatever traumas or negative emotions or limitations or anything that triggers the person, then when something happens, you don't react. You are really, there is a pause. Really, you feel it, like, oh, okay, this is happening. What do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
It really gives you the time to assess the situation as it is, and then in everything what we've been talking about, or having conversation about now, becomes just second nature, becomes so easy. You are
Mm-hmm.
really present, you really listen, you really assess the situation as it is, and really being more conscious, because what is presence is to be conscious, is to be really in the moment, where you really, there is nothing triggering you, you are just there, and okay, this is happening, good, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
While if
Well.
if you have the past, like distorting what you are experiencing in the moment, you don't even have split second to think. You are on reactive mode all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
As you were saying, Leila, that what do I do now, or do I really need to do anything at the moment? Maybe I just need to remove myself from the situation, and that's it.
exactly.
And silence, when you're in an argument, a silence is a very powerful thing, because when you're arguing with someone, I'm giving tips in the relationship now. When you're arguing with someone, if it's going back and forth, you feel like it's a powerful thing for you to reply. But what happens when someone stops talking? Another person needs a reply, right?
Mhm.
So the person who stops talking has the power. It's the silence and this situation. I'm talking only about the argument or something.
Mhm.
The power of the silence in this situation is really it's huge. The other person would think, yes, you don't have any words, but will try to also try to get reply. But what I was saying it about, that you don't have to reply to things that are not serving you anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this
Mm.
this 5 seconds breathing and quiet and you will even change your mind even to continue the fight. It's not even interesting anymore. It's like it's already done, as you were saying. Do I have to do
Exactly.
anything,
Mm.
or I'll just move on?
Exactly. And sometimes, even if it's not a fight, I mean, even if it's a
Hmm.
conversation, sometimes the other person just needs to be heard. That's it. You don't need to say anything. They just want to express what they have been through. And then at the end, you can just ask them, is there a way I can help you with? Or,
Hmm.
yeah, instead
Do
of
you want? Yeah,
imposing or, yeah.
yeah. Do you want me to listen to you, or do you want me to give you advice? You can always ask that, because some people would
Mm.
really like advice, and some people would just, okay, I'm happy, I've been heard.
Yeah, because also giving an advice or helping when it's not, it hasn't been asked for, no,
Yes.
it won't be useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So do we have a special question today?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Just a second. I'll go to our. Where's mine? Yes. Unpopular opinions.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Okay.
the opinion is about communication. Some
Okay.
people say that, again, we touch up about that a little bit, but I want to hear your opinion. People say that they don't have to communicate with anyone. People who want to communicate with them, they will come and talk to them. So
Mhm.
to sum it up, it's about a person in power. They feel they don't have to talk to anyone. If anyone wants to talk to them, I'm here, they can find me. What would you say?
Yeah, it's a choice. If they want that, why not? I mean, if
Okay.
they don't have anything to communicate to others, it depends what is the intention behind this.
Hmm.
If it's the ego, like I'm not going to go and talk to people because I'm in the power seat, and
Hmm.
then I'm the important person and I don't need them. If they need me, they need to come to me. If that's the case, it's, I mean, they are in power, fine, go, they will stay there, but they will end up by themselves. They won't understand what people are going through. I mean, if they are in power means, I suppose, or I assume, again, I'm not sure, if they are leaders, then that's not
Hmm.
really the best way to do the two
It's
to
not leading, yes.
it's
Hmm.
not leading at all. If there is no communication and there is no, um, like, understanding the team, that's not going to be a good, the consequences are not going to be the best.
Hmm.
um, but then if really if it's not the case, if it's, for example, a person who feels like, maybe, because there can be different scenarios here, Dario. If it's, for example, imagine it's me and those around me, for example, I'm in a family where there is a lot of drama, and if I go and talk with the other ones, it's going to flare up, and I say no, I prefer to stay here, and
Hmm.
just stay safe, and then if they need to talk to me, they will come and talk to me.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a safe place to be in, to avoid drama. So
True.
I mean, there can be different scenarios. So which one you were thinking
And
about specifically?
in that case, it was specifically a person in power, and it
Mhm.
was a father
A
talking
father.
about, yes, that he doesn't need to go and speak to his kids.
Okay.
When they need to speak to him, they know where to find him. So this is where I was a bit, everyone has their opinion. Again,
Mm,
I've forgotten to put the unpopular opinion thing, but yeah, everyone has own opinions right about how to raise your kids, and maybe it's a cultural thing, maybe it's the way you've been raised, whatever it is at the moment. But for me, um, you on you in a position of authority in the family.
mm.
And kids are, they're not your employees. They are not people that you hired and you can fire. They're there to learn from you how to navigate life.
Totally.
Okay. And they need to see examples. You need to, as you were saying, it's basically you're a family leader. You need to lead
Mm,
by example and show them how to navigate difficult situations in life. So for me, it was a bit, again, no judging. If it works for
mm,
you and your kids are happy and they're, performing well and they have lots of friends and it just some boundaries that you made in the family for some reason, that if it works for you, works for you. But if you see that it's really not good on your family and so on, I think it should be kind of reconsidered.
mm. Now, I really believe that as human beings, we cannot function without communicating.
Hmm.
Communication is vital. We need to express ourselves, ask about others. This is the way we bond and we connect. We ideally is to read thoughts. This is what they said. Normally, we should function like that. We
Uh-huh.
forgot how to do it with Babylon and all those those
Hmm. Hmm.
mythology. But initially, human beings were supposed to communicate by telepathy. We are not good at doing that, so we need to communicate in different ways with our bodies, with our facial expressions, with songs, with music, with words, with stories. It's
Hmm.
extremely important to communicate. So when we remove that from the equation, how can we understand each other? What kind of relationship we can have if there is no communication? And I'm
No,
really
really.
talking about a
Yeah.
human face-to-face communication. I'm not talking about texts or
Uh-huh.
messages or emojis or whatever. No, really, really communicating with you. So if that person says, if you need me, you come to me, or you know where to find me, means there is just one way communication. It's not a
Hmm.
communication anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
So
pandemic showed a lot to us, to humans, what communication means to us, face-to-face communication.
it's really precious. Yeah, you know that
Yes.
today for the first time we had a meetup with people from the community here in the city.
After
And
how many years?
after almost 3 years, and people were
Mhm.
so happy. The turnout was amazing. Before COVID, I used to have to organize workshops here for the public, just for the community,
Mhm.
on different topics. The statistics were usually a third of the people who promised to come will show up.
Mhm.
This time it was almost everybody was there, and people were so happy. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. They would have never before it wasn't the case, but I
To see
mean,
humans.
yeah, to see humans. We were so happy to see and each other, and then sit and talk, and people were really uh, I mean, I think we appreciate even more than before, I suppose.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm.
I think it was very cruel but very valuable lesson to all humans.
Yeah, yeah, something to be grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah. As they say, you want to appreciate something, take it away. Then you'll
Yes.
start appreciating it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Well, Leila, if there anything you would like to say or summarize before going for tonight?
Um, that would be something came to my mind, which is practicing gratitude, which is amazing because it raises our frequency, and then we feel much better. Um, but then communication, it's just about practicing what we have been sharing with you today. Like, be present when you communicate with someone. Do it really face to face. Now that we have the opportunity to do it, listen to the other person, and be careful about what kind of conversation you have with yourself as well. Make sure to use positive words, using what the mind is not really good at discerning, which is a negative word, negative form, and just turn out whatever you have to say in a way that yields positivity, good energy for you. Even if you want to complain using positive words. So everybody benefits from that. It's really a trick, and it when we practice it long enough, then you cannot. It doesn't. You don't know how to do it the old way. You know,
Hmm.
it becomes like so much easier with time, and that's really it spreads when you have this way of communicating. People around you will pick it up, and that will become practiced around you, and everybody benefits from it. So
Hmm.
really wishing the audience a conscious communication every day, spread positivity, and positivity doesn't mean denying what is, but we have a choice in how to convey what we want to say. It doesn't mean that life is always pink and beautiful. Life is ups
Hmm.
and downs. There are moments where are not as good as we want, things that turn out not as well as we want them to be. But we have a choice in expressing them, because whatever we say spreads around us, and it affects. Even we don't want that, but it still affects everything around us: the plants, the pets, our environment, people around you. So just be choose wisely your words and what you want to convey to others.
Great message. Thank you, Leah.
You're
Great.
most welcome, Daria. Thank you very much for having me. It was pleasure.
Thank you.
Always.
And I'll see you in a bit. I'll just do the closing.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Have a nice
So, thank you for watching. It was a pleasure as always having Leila. And every Thursday we have different guests and we have different conversation around topics that are very important in our life. I do understand that our videos are around an hour approximately. So the funny thing that I found out when you're watching a video, just put it on 1.5 to speed. You still get the message, and you spend in less time. I've tried. It's fun. You still getting you understanding what is being said, and it's something useful you can spend the time with. Um, Again, like us, leave a comment, share, and subscribe so you will see a notification when we come in next time on Thursday. For today, we are out. Thanks for watching.